Hello everyone, today we're going to talk about this question 6 on 2019 physics paper. This is a standard projectile question. I know some of you may be doing projectile circular motion at school right now, and this would be a good practice if you're having any problems learning this part. First, let's read the question. A golfer hits a ball so that it leaves the ground at a speed of 40 meters per second at an angle of 30 degrees to the horizontal, and we take G as 9.8. And so, as seen from the graph, a golfer is hitting a ball at an angle and it hits on the wall instead of landing on the ground. And the horizontal displacement is 104 meters. And first, we need to calculate the maximum height that the ball rises above the ground. So, we're finding the h here. And what's the key to solving this problem? I hope you remember that. At this point, what's 0? Vertical velocity is 0 here. So there's only horizontal velocity. The ball goes from up and then down, and at this point it is momentarily the vertical velocity is momentarily at 0 here. So the standard way to solve all of this question is to decompose the initial velocity into two directions. I hope you all are familiar with this already. So we need to find the vertical initial velocity. It would be 40 times sine 30 degrees. If you forgot about this, you could look at the triangle here. It is a right angle triangle. And then you can find that this is true. It becomes 20 meters per second. And we talked about that at this point. We also know that the vertical velocity is 0. And what else do we know in terms of t, g, and s? We also know g, right? I mean a. We also know the acceleration. And then now we need to find, the displacement, the vertical displacement. So guess which formula we're going to use? I hope you all know that we need to use 2as equals v squared minus u squared. And here, the problem in this question is probably the sign. You need to be careful that as the acceleration, the g is pointing downwards, but as the displacement, it's going to be upwards. So there would be a negative sign here. But apart from that, if you sub in all the values, you'll be able to find s. So part A is pretty standard. Let's look at part B. Instead of landing on the ground, the ball hits a wall that is 104 meters away from the point at which the golfer hits the ball. And then we ask at what height up the wall does the ball hit the wall? Okay, now let's think about the question again. We need to find essentially vertical displacement, which is an s. And what we also know u, the initial vertical velocity. Again, we know the acceleration, which is g. And do we have v? No, right? We don't know the vertical velocity at the end point. And do we have s? No, this is what we need to find. And then do we have t? We don't have it yet. But since we don't know this one, we probably want to figure out t first so that we can solve s. So how do we find t? I'm pretty sure you might have already seen questions like this. We can use this number 104 to find the total time taken for this whole motion. We need to use stuff in the question in some way, right? So how do we use 104 meters to find the time? And if you remember, we could also find horizontal velocity, right? And in the horizontal direction, we're doing constant velocity motion because there's no acceleration on the horizontal direction. So we can find horizontal initial velocity as 40 times cosine 30 degree. And then we can find the time. Let me write this first. And then we can find the time as 104 divided by horizontal velocity. And then now we have u, g, t, and then we need to find s. And now the question would be which formula to use. I hope you can see that we need to use ut plus half gt squared. But then once again, be careful with the sign here. What's the sign of displacement? What's the direction of displacement? It's pointing upwards, right? And the initial velocity is also upwards, but j is pointing downwards. So here we need to sub in negative 9.8 instead of 9.8. But apart from that, if you if you just calculate all the numbers, you should get the right answer. So this is the entire question of question 6. Hope you learned something. Practice some. This is a good question to practice on if you're learning projectile. Thank you for listening. See you again.